A long time ago, there was a king whose kingdom was very large. The king had 6 queens, but he had no children. This made the king very worried. He was a kind and religious man who always worked for the good of his people. He treated his people like his own children, and the people loved their king very much. The king married 6 times to have a child, but no queen gave him a child. He prayed, performed rituals in temples, and gave donations, but still, none of his queens became a mother. The king started feeling hopeless and very sad. Seeing the king's sadness, the people were also unhappy. Everyone prayed for the king to have a son who could become the next king. One day, the king went hunting in the forest. While chasing a deer, he went far away and lost his way. After some time, he felt thirsty and heard the sound of a stream. He followed the sound and started drinking water from the stream. Suddenly, he heard a girl's voice. "Who are you? Don't you see that I'm bathing here?" The king turned around in surprise. He was so thirsty that he didn't notice the girl bathing there. The king apologized immediately and said, "I was very thirsty. I didn't see you. If you allow me, I will drink water and leave." The girl said, "I live in the nearby village and come here every day to bathe. You can drink water with your back to me, and I will show you the way." The king drank water and stood under a tree at a distance. After some time, the girl changed her clothes and came to him. She gave him some fruits to eat. The king thanked her and asked, "Who are you, and why are you alone in the forest?" The girl replied, "My name is Rupa. I live in the nearby village. I live with my mother, and we collect fruits and wood from the forest to sell. That is how we survive." The king looked at Rupa carefully and started feeling drawn to her. He wished to meet her again and again. After some time, the king told his minister about Rupa, and the minister suggested that the king marry her, as she might give him a child. The king decided to visit Rupa's village with his minister. When they arrived, the king proposed to marry Rupa. The villagers happily agreed, and the king married Rupa. He named her Rajlakshmi. Rajlakshmi was very simple and innocent. However, the other queens became jealous of her. Rajlakshmi didn't know about this jealousy and always respected them. Some time later, a famous saint visited the kingdom. The minister invited him to the palace and told him about the king's problem of not having children. The saint decided to stay in the palace for a few days, and the king agreed. During his stay, the saint noticed that only Rajlakshmi served him with full devotion, while the other queens stayed away. When the saint was about to leave, he blessed Rajlakshmi and said she would soon have a child. Soon, Rajlakshmi became pregnant. This news brought great joy to the king and the entire kingdom. Everyone eagerly waited for the birth of the king's heir. However, the other queens continued to be jealous of Rajlakshmi. When the news of Rajlakshmi's pregnancy spread, the entire kingdom was filled with celebration. However, the other queens became even more jealous and angry. They could not accept that a simple village girl, who had recently come to the palace, would be the mother of the king's first child. They began plotting ways to harm Rajlakshmi and her unborn baby. A few months later, Rajlakshmi gave birth to a beautiful and healthy baby boy. The entire kingdom rejoiced at the news. The king was overjoyed and organized grand celebrations across the kingdom. He named his son Prince Aryan and announced that Aryan would be his heir and the future king. Hearing this, the jealousy of the other queens grew even more. They decided to remove Rajlakshmi and Aryan so that one of their own sons could become the heir. One day, one of the queens came up with a plan to act when the king went hunting. When the king left for the forest, the jealous queens decided to execute their evil plan. They spread a false rumor that the king had ordered Rajlakshmi and her child to leave the palace. They claimed that an astrologer had predicted the child would bring misfortune to the kingdom. Rajlakshmi was shocked by the news but felt she had no choice but to follow the king's supposed command. Heartbroken, she left the palace with her newborn son and wandered into the forest. She was tired and discouraged but held her son close, praying for their safety. After walking for a long time, she came across a small hut where a saint was meditating. The saint noticed Rajlakshmi's sorrowful state and offered her shelter in his hut. He comforted her, saying, "Your son is special. No matter how many try to harm him, he will remain safe. Destiny has chosen him for great deeds." Rajlakshmi gained some courage from the saint's words. She began living under his care, and her son Aryan started growing up. Aryan turned out to be an intelligent, brave, and kind child. Over time, his fame spread to nearby villages in the forest. Meanwhile, in the palace, when the king returned from hunting and inquired about Rajlakshmi and his son, the queens told him a fabricated story. They claimed that Rajlakshmi had voluntarily left the palace with her son. The king was skeptical but had no evidence to refute their claims. Years passed, and Aryan grew into a young man. One day, the saint revealed the truth about his royal heritage and his father's kingdom. Aryan promised his mother that he would reclaim his rightful place and confront his father about the injustice. The saint blessed him, saying, "The time has come. Go and establish justice." Aryan set off for the palace, determined and prepared. Taking his mother's blessings, he embarked on his journey with unwavering resolve to seek justice for her and himself. He knew the path would not be easy, but the saint's blessings and his mother's prayers gave him strength. When Aryan arrived at the palace gates, the guards stopped him. However, Aryan's commanding presence immediately made them realize that he was no ordinary person. They allowed him to enter and informed the court of his arrival. The king, intrigued by the news of a young warrior claiming to be a prince, summoned Aryan to the royal court. As Aryan entered, his aura left a strange impression on the king. Rising from his throne, the king asked, "Who are you, and what do you seek?" With unwavering confidence, Aryan replied, "I am Aryan, your son. I am the son of Rajlakshmi, who was unjustly expelled from this palace years ago. I have come here to demand justice and to reveal the truth." A stunned silence enveloped the court. The king was shocked, and the queens' faces turned pale with fear. Furious, the king asked, "What are you saying?" "My queens told me that Rajlakshmi left the palace of her own will." Calmly, Aryan replied, "That is a lie, your majesty. The queens deceived you. They conspired to drive my mother out so that their own sons could claim the throne." The king was deeply troubled and demanded an investigation. He summoned his ministers and spies to uncover the truth. Evidence soon surfaced, confirming that the queens had indeed plotted against Rajlakshmi. Heartbroken by the betrayal, the king apologized to Rajlakshmi and Aryan, inviting them back to the palace. He declared Aryan his heir and the future king. The conspiring queens were stripped of their titles and exiled from the palace. Rajlakshmi and Aryan returned to the palace, restoring peace and prosperity to the kingdom. In time, Aryan grew into a wise and just ruler. Together with his mother, he took the kingdom to new heights. As foretold by the saint, Aryan's name was etched in history as a symbol of courage, patience, and justice. Thus, truth and justice prevailed, and Aryan's bravery and perseverance led his kingdom toward a glorious future.